Good afternoon, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to warmly welcome you to this afternoon talk, which I'm proud to co-host with the Department of Philippines and Affairs for the I'm delighted that we have so many female diplomats with us today, and also glad to see many familiar faces, especially a group of women diplomats and a group of women ambassadors who have played a very important role in supporting my campaign for international law commission last year. I'm very honored to have former Permanent Secretary Master MUANG.MAN.PORTFOLIO, who is a role model for female diplomats in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There is a few reasons, that we are here. You always know that I have so many purposes, with what to it. So firstly, I wish to express my appreciation for women ambassadors' support of my International Law Commission's election campaign last year. We intended to organize the event right after the election, but unfortunately we have to defer it because of this COVID-19 situation in Thailand. So it's a bit long overdue for that. Secondly, I would like also to take this opportunity to comment the UN GA resolution recently adopted on the 20th of June 2022, declaring on 24th of June of this year as the International Day of Women in Diplomacy. Now we have a day, especially devoted to celebrate the role of women in diplomacy. This resolution not only recognizes the indispensable contribution of women in working in diplomacy, but also encourage their increased participation in every field. Despite the recognition, I know you know what I'm going to say. I believe there's still more to be done. Taking the ILC as an example, only in 2001, more than 50 years after its foundation, UN General Assembly elected the Commission's first female members from Portugal and from China. Those two are the first after 50 years of establishing ILC. In the last election, we have 8 women running for the position, but only 5 were elected from the total number of 34 electors. So to me, it's still disappointing. Even during my campaign, everybody committed that to have more women is a must in the UN system. But the result of the election is still not satisfactory to me. So I think that we need to do more. And the situation in the overall UN system is also not encouraging. Indeed, I can tell that. In the 76 years since its foundation again, this organization has never had a woman secretary general. The past 75 presidents of the UN General Assembly only have 4 women. When I visited the UN, I went to look at all the photos there. And out of 193 members of the UN, less than 30% are represented by women ambassadors in the UN. I think in Bangkok we do a little bit, same number of that as well. So I think we need to do more in making the role of women better known, recognized. One of the most element that I think most important is that women need to support each other. The close collaboration between women ambassadors in Bangkok is a good example of that. I admire the enthusiasm and innovation in regularly organized events that not only support to promote the role of women, but also the good relationship between embassy and also embassy with foreign affairs in Thailand. So that's the second reason. There's still more. Third, I'm very pleased to know that this afternoon talk under the topic of women in diplomacy, the role of women in supporting Thailand's promotion of international law. It's held to reaffirm Thailand's full commitment to implement the said UNGA resolution and notably to seek partnership and explore future possible cooperation among women working in diplomacy to support the promotion of international law and human rights law. Department of Treaties and Legal Affairs stand ready to coordinate and facilitate its future cooperation. Fourth, on this occasion, I would also like to introduce Dr. Supanvasa Chotikayathan, my our new Director General of the Department of Treaty of Legal Affairs. She's a 32nd DG, and we only have 2 women. You know that I was the first, so now we have 2 in a row. So it's good sign. I'm confident that she will talk to you after this a little bit, and you will know that she's better than me. I'm confident that her leadership and experience as a practitioner of international law will guide the DTLA through this challenging period ahead. And I wish all of you to continue your cooperation with Dr. Supanvasa and her team, as you have done very well with me. Thank you. And fifth, I think this is the last, but not at all least. In a few weeks' time, 2 women ambassadors, Her Excellency Helen Bellinger Artida of Switzerland, and Her Excellency, unfortunately she's not here today, Mrs. Kirsty Rodman of Norway, will complete her tour of duties in Thailand. And this is another reason, that's why we are gathering here today, because they are very active, especially in Thailand, in this group of women ambassadors. So Ambassador Helen is here with us today, so it would be my honor to take this opportunity to bid you farewell and express our gratitude and also congratulations to your new appointment as the Swiss Secretary of State for Economic Affairs. I know that's a role I just learned from her. It's a very heavy role that she will be responsible for economic and labor as well. So we hope that she will be a part that push forward the FTA that we are starting negotiating now. I'm certain that the Swiss government will benefit from the contribution to the role, the same way as your active role as ambassador in Thailand. And this has been privileged and joyful experience for me to know and working with you for the past few years. So, Excellency, please accept our best wishes for your success and your role. Thank you.
Dr. Bilawan, Helen, women ambassadors, and senior leadership from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's an honor, absolute honor, to join you in a reflection of the power of women's leadership that each of you bring to bear in your role as ambassadors, of civil servants, and in your respective communities. Each of you are critical in promoting gender equity, sustainable development, and human rights, as you inspire many young women to walk this path to empowerment. Let me begin by congratulating you, Helen, on the big step up as State Secretary for Economic Affairs. I had to look up the internet to understand what this means. Really, I had to look it up. Right? It took me a while figuring out what this role is, and it's a very, very important role, as I understand. And acknowledge your leadership in promoting the universal values that the Swiss and the UN share so deeply, including this thing on women's empowerment. So many thanks for that. Under your leadership, we've seen the critical role that Switzerland has played in carbon markets as well, more recently, with the first country-to-country carbon offsetting pact
which was signed last month, if I'm not incorrect. This is pretty groundbreaking in many ways, as it will translate into enhanced climate projects here in Thailand. I would also like to acknowledge Switzerland's leadership at the global level for becoming the first-time member of the Security Council, I think starting next year. So many congratulations for that. Dr. Beloved, let me also congratulate you on your election to the ILC. It's a big win, not just for Thailand, but for women more broadly. And also wanted to thank you for inviting me to say a few words on this whole concept of women and peace building in the context of Thailand. I'm going to take this opportunity to speak from my own experience and draw some lessons from this experience that I have over the past couple of years, while linking gender equality and the women, peace and security agenda as a critical contributor for SDGs. So that's where I'm going to come at it from. Gender equality and women's empowerment lies at the heart of the 2030 Agenda and Sustainable Development, with the central pledge basically to leave no one behind. My own development experience began in Gujarat, working with women in microfinance, where I saw firsthand the incredible difference that women can make in their respective communities, even with very limited resources. As we know, Thailand is fully committed to the agenda of gender equality, as was highlighted by the Prime Minister at the recent Global Summit on Women in Bangkok. The Prime Minister pledged gender equality and spoke about realizing the full potential of women as leaders in driving the economy, climate change, and sustaining peace and social development, including through the 1 million volunteers, in fact more than 1 million volunteers, you've got a total of 12 million volunteers, safeguarding communities during the pandemic. We know that Thailand is already a global leader, with among the highest proportion of women CEOs and CFOs of any country in the world. We also know, and this is new, I hope you find this useful, we also know that women are more active than men on social media here in Thailand. and they have a higher rate of completing secondary and higher education, which is pretty unusual for most countries. However, in tertiary STEM-related education, the narrative reverses to 1/3. In a rapidly digitizing world, full inclusion and participation of women in STEM education and occupation is going to become central if we are wanting to achieve the SDGs. We all know a lot more work needs to be done. Political participation in Thailand remains relatively low among women, while gender-based violence is a persistent concern that has worsened during the pandemic, and evidence suggests that. Girls and women are often disproportionately affected by crisis, and at the same time, they are an essential contributor to sustainable solutions. Put simply, women bring irreplaceable perspectives, intellect, critical thinking, networking, what you mentioned, and community organizing skills to understand challenges and implement policies that can make a positive difference to communities and people's lives. Gender equality is also essential for peace and security, which can only be sustained if everyone has equal access to protection, resources, services, and decision-making. In fact, gender equality is the #1 predictor for peace. And this was, I think, said by the Secretary General in one of his speeches. At the Security Council Open Debate on Women, Peace and Security last month, Thailand reaffirmed its full backing to the empowerment of women and girls in their engagement for sustainable peace and security. Thailand is also a member of the Peace Building Commission. I don't know how many of you are aware of this. It's a very important first step that Thailand has taken. And this is an opportunity to influence the global peace-building agenda from a South-South perspective. The Secretary General is committed to increasing the role of women in peacekeeping, where they are currently underrepresented with less than 10% of uniformed officers, women officers in the field. We've learned that women peacekeepers improve overall performance, have a greater access to communities, help build trust and confidence, and prevent and reduce conflict. In fact, they encourage other women to become a meaningful part of the peace and political processes in countries that they work in. Thailand's Peacekeeping Center is enabling the scaling up of gender-sensitive approaches by mainstreaming them into operation. And I'm hoping that this soon become a regional hub, which will enable us to take this whole gender-sensitive approach broader than Thailand. In the southern border provinces, women are playing a critical role in promoting social cohesion and human rights. The appointment of Dr. Rachula Thandira as a special representative to promote women's engagement in the peace process is going to enable us to further facilitate their engagement in the peace dialogue. The Women, Peace and Security agenda is work in progress, but we have to draw some key lessons from the experience so far, and there are 4 in particular that I want to highlight. First, it is critical to understand the challenges by listening to the perspective of women and girls, to hear their experience, and to understand how it impacts them in the context of conflict and peace building. Second, strategies should seek to protect, prevent, and empower, seeing women as agents of change with voice and control, not just as victims. And third, when women are included in peacemaking strategies, they are more likely to generate ownership and sustain. And it is in this context that it will be critical to further enhance women in the southern border province to participate in the 3 joint working groups on violence reduction, public consultation, and political solution to contribute to durable peace in the region. Fourth, including women is essential for strengthening trust and confidence along with social cohesion within communities, and is many ways the foundational concept of our common agenda that the Secretary General speaks to. Peace building works. It is a proven investment. We need to do far more to join up our development, humanitarian, and peace building efforts. The new agenda for peace that the Secretary General is proposing has been welcomed by all member states, emphasizing prevention and putting girls and women at the center of peace building. It means finally balancing the scales of power and participation equally for women, including as peace builders. Dr. Villawan, Helen, and ambassadors, I'm struck by the sense of responsibility that all of us have to Thailand and to our communities, which can only be fulfilled by women having a full and equal role as partners and leaders. When we approach peace and sustainable development from this foundation of equality, we amplify the voices of the most vulnerable and seek solutions that are grounded in everyday lives and realities and realize the potential of our diversity working towards our common purpose. We are, quite simply, stronger together. It is a privilege to work with so many inspiring colleagues, both women and men, starting from the shared understanding of equality, both as human rights and as a source of strength. So thank you very much, and thank you, Dr. Villawan and Helen. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to continuing to engage with you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gita, for a very powerful presentation. So I'm actually speaking after 2 very, very competent women, so it's a lot of pressure for me right now, but I will do my best. Okay, so it's a great honor and privilege for me to be among all of you capable women leaders. I feel very privileged, and I feel that it's a great opportunity for me to actually share experiences and also learn from all of you. So first of all, I'd like to thank my mentor, Dr. Villawan, especially for her kind introduction, and then her belief that I could take over the reins from her and do an equally good job in taking care of the Department of Treaties and Legal Affairs. So I take that privilege, and I will treasure that, and especially all the lessons that you gave me in the past. And you're one of the most bravest, courageous women that I've known. You never shy away from the difficult task. You always say that do attack it, with gusto, with bravery, and of course, the most important lesson is probably do the right thing. That's what you always tell me, especially as lawyers. And I said that to all of my colleagues too in the department, that we must do the right thing. So that's the thing that I will remember. And the Department of Treaties and Legal Affairs, we've been around for about 60 years. And it's a legacy that we're proud to carry forth. We serve as the legal advisor for the Thai government in terms of providing advice on international law issues. And we also act as an advisor for government agencies in terms of their treaty-making processes. We also act as a depository for the treaties that Thailand concludes with other countries. Right now, we're in the process of going digital, meaning that we have a database, and we're trying to make the treaty database more user-friendly. And so we're going digital, even though we're trying to preserve what we do best in terms of the hard copies that we have, and also trying to make it more accessible to everybody. 30 years ago, when I entered the ministry, there were only about 2 or 3 women lawyers in the department. And the department was actually just full of men in suits. And there didn't seem any place for women to be able to fit in. But now, as I look around the room, I'm heartened, and I feel excited to see the ministry itself having more women that are capable, women diplomats, lawyers that are leading the way for foreign affairs. Currently, we only have about 40 staff at the department, but all capable lawyers, men and women alike. And the percentage of women now, as compared to male proportion, is 62%, which is very promising. But as compared to the international fora, as Dr. Wei alluded to just now, it seems that there are still very low numbers in terms of women lawyers, women diplomats in the presence of international fora, such as the ICJ, the ICC, the Rome Statute, the ILC also. Even the judges on the ITLOS, the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, that also has very few women. So the question is, why are there so many low numbers of women? I'll try to attempt to answer that question, but perhaps I can give more of a perspective on what I see. What is it that women bring to the forum when we talk about development of international law? Is there any special formula, any magical potion that women carry around that makes the development law any different? Well, some people say that women, because we wear different hats. We're mothers, we're sisters. We are leaders. We sometimes know when to follow. We are great at finding solutions. We know when to compromise. We know what our priorities are. Maybe those characteristics that pertain to women. But I can tell you that I know a lot of men who have those same characteristics too. So maybe women cannot take the credit for all of that, but then maybe it's stereotypical notions that we are led to believe that those are characteristics that belong solely to women. So maybe it's not that women have anything special, but I think it's a matter of representation. So to answer that question, really, we have to see that if we don't have women in these roles, are we more at a risk of losing the potential that women hold? That means that half of the world's population made up of women will not be able to have their voices heard in international fora that really matter. So increasing participation, increasing representation of women in international fora, I think that should be the goal that we should strive for. So how are we going to do that? That's the multi-billion-dollar question. And I can say that for Thailand, from what I'm standing here as an international lawyer and in charge of the Department of Treaties and Legal Affairs, I propose 3 ways. Dr. Wang had 5 ways. Students, I have 4 ways. I have 3 ways. So I'm being humble. So first one is, of course, to build experience, build expertise. I think the trend of international law right now is getting more and more technical. We're into the era of COVID. We have to know what vaccines work and how we need to cooperate. So it's getting even more technical. There's issues of cybercrime, of hacking, technological advances that require some kind of rule and regulation. And this is where lawyers come in. So I think all of us, women and men alike, we need to build out our expertise. And the only way we can do that is to create an organization that's based on knowledge, a knowledge-based organization where we try to preserve the institutional memory that exists in the department. We as diplomats, we move around all the time, and that's a problem that we struggle with, trying to retain that knowledge and keep it in the department. And so we constantly feel that. Right now we're trying to, what I would call preserving the past so that we are better prepared for the future. We've enlisted the help of an archivist at the department to try to go through all of the material that we have, and to actually put everything in order. This is an idea from Dr. Wilawan, who started it, and I will plan to continue with this idea of making sure we know where we are and who we are, and preserving that very essential knowledge. And every day I'm learning about Thailand's treaty-making process. It's something that is unique to us, and we've found documents dating back to the 1800s, which is very exciting. We've seen how countries really put effort into making a treaty which is legally binding, and it shows the country's willingness to engage. And that, I think, is the cornerstone of diplomacy. So that is something that's very exciting. So I think we need to build up expertise, and through that expertise, we need to have more exposure, have more presence in the international fora. And with that comes acceptance. It creates trust, and then in the end, it builds confidence. So that's how, I think, a way forward for women diplomats, women lawyers, to be able to increase their presence in the international arena. The second is, of course, to increase active participation. I myself have been fortunate to be elected as Vice Chairman of the UNCITRAL Commission, the 55th session that's going on in New York right now. I'll be traveling to New York, and hopefully I'll be able to make concrete contributions to the development of international trade law. And in the past, for the UNGA, the 76th session, the 6th committee, which is the legal issue, Thailand has been very active in participating in the creation of international norms. For instance, we've been active in the issue of protection of persons in the event of disasters. We're trying to link that to the idea of a pandemic treaty. Perhaps the ideas behind a disaster can be applied to situations when there's a pandemic, for instance. And third, of course, partnership. I think what is most important is that Thailand cannot do this alone. We need to form alliances with all of our friends, especially in the UN, especially with organizations like the ICRC, with like-minded countries that really think that we need to develop laws, develop rules that really are beneficial to all mankind. I think in the past we've had great cooperation with the Codification Division of the UN Office of Legal Affairs, and of course with the Taylor Institute of Foreign Affairs. We hold an annual UN regional course on international law for Asia Pacific. It's an annual event bringing lawyers from all over the world around in Asia Pacific to come and learn more about the law and share experiences, which I think Thailand it will become a center for international law learning. So with academic talk aside, I really appreciate you all coming today, and this event was really just to celebrate all of us, so celebrate our successes, to recognize that we as comrades, we need to sit together, and I don't want to feel that there are men around, and my younger colleagues, I need them to, and recognize that their love and support for all of us is very important. So I think I really would like you to enjoy today's event, enjoy each other's company, and so thank you again for coming, and then you can enjoy the artwork. We thank you, the Silicon University, for providing the artwork. So I think diplomacy is a mix of both art and science in a way. So thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
Also strength of women. We're very flexible. I was asked impromptu would I say a few words. So let's show how flexible we are. Deputy Permanent Secretary. It's actually a funny story. Last time I had the honor to host Deputy Permanent Secretary together with the other Deputy Permanent Secretary. Where's she hiding? Back there. So you were a Director General at that time. You just had been promoted to your new role, and I was an ambassador, and I'm now going to be promoted. So I think that was a good energy at this table. And I think it's a little story, but it actually proves that together we're stronger. So I really like that when all of the speakers pointed out that us ladies, ambassadors, diplomats, lawyers, although sometimes we don't like the lawyers that much, we have to. Now I'm really risking my life. Not very diplomatic of me. Okay, no, but I think it's important that we come together. And I also very much like that you invited your male colleagues, because I can tell you I'm where I am, because at least 2 men really promoted me during my job and gave me the opportunities, and I have a very intelligent and strong man at home as well, which I could not have had my career without having these really good male role models in my life. But I think us women, we really need to network more, and then we can achieve a lot. And in Switzerland there are 5 state secretaries, and since January it's historic, the 5 are women. Ooh. So, and I think what I also like here, I'm the 2nd female ambassador, I'm not the 1st female ambassador, and I'm the 2nd female State Secretary for Economic Affairs. So I think you go like, okay, it would be nice to be number 1, which is historic, but actually more important for women to be number 2. Because it means it's not just the once off, so that we're actually successful and we can keep that successful way, and hopefully number 3, number 4, number 5 can be a man. 7, better ladies, but no, I'm taking it as a sign of strength that I'm again number 2 and not number 1. I've been number 1 in previous jobs. Congratulations, and I think she's right. I don't know if you're better, but you're very good. That we could see. So wonderful to see you all, and I'm of course sad to leave Thailand, but we're just starting free trade negotiation after Thailand, so I'm hoping that things are going very speedily thanks to the lawyers, and that I can come back and sign free trade agreement on behalf of Switzerland. That would be wonderful.
Me to say something. I was forced to say something today. Actually, I'm not prepared, and I was not. I don't think I am in a position to say anything about the foreign ministry. What I can do is to, first of all, then congratulate the Rawan and. Both of them are younger generation, Thai women diplomats who I'm very proud of. I also wish to congratulate the Foreign Ministry for organizing this event. An event that I think that should have organized more often. Networking and getting to know each other in order to enhance your working relationship. Let me also say a few words about the Ambassador of Switzerland, Ellen, who is a good friend of mine, and I was so sad to see you leave. But I know that with so many things that we have done here, you are obliged to come back to Thailand in your new capacity, at least for these FTA negotiations that you started last month. So wish you all the best for your new assignment, which is a big promotion, and which reflects the Swiss government, federal government recognition of your ability and your role as a women leader in also in diplomacy and also in economic area. And on another note, I think it is important for all of us to try to, the role of women in diplomacy to promote this, and not only organize this kind of networking, but to organize more of a kind of, since now I'm in a private sector, I would say a kind of a relationship or partnership between private and public sectors. And the role of women in the private sector in Thailand is not very well, to me, is not very well, not many Thai women are in the CEO position. And they could have been promoted. There could be more of the Thai women CEO in Thailand. But what I mean is that if we can encourage more of exchange of views on how public and private sectors and female entrepreneurship could work together with the public sector, I think that this could be one more step forward and to see what we can do together, because the role of the government is to support the private sector, who needs to lead in many areas, especially on global issues like we're talking about climate change, we're talking about new security concern, whether they are pandemics or whatever. And I think the role of women needs to be more recognized. And I believe that the power of women can lead and can make we achieve better, because I quite agree with DG on the quality of women. And I think that this needs to be enhanced. And with all the cooperation of all of us here, we can do on our part just one step. Each one of us just help each other, and then we could reach the goal. So thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting me to this event. Thank you.
I think with Hélène's departure, I'm not the longest standing member of our Women Ambassadors group. I think that is Ambassador Suchitra, but one of the longest standing ones. So I just wanted to take an occasion to say some very brief words, since there have been many speeches already. But first of all, we want to say thank you so much for inviting us today. It's wonderful to get this chance to be together with you and many other colleagues, male and female, from the Foreign Ministry. So we really appreciate the opportunity. And it's nice to feel that it's possible to do this once again. So very much enjoy this. And to my mind, this is maybe a little bit of a little late, but a celebration of the first International Day of Women in Diplomacy last month. So wonderful that we could get together to mark that day. Also, of course, sad for our group that Hélène is leaving us, who's been one of our most active and high-profile members of the Women Ambassadors group. But I did want to reassure you and other colleagues that the rest of us are still here. We're still going strong. And in fact, we will have some new women ambassadors who have joined recently or will be joining us. And with the arrival of a new female ambassador from Australia, and soon we hope a female colleague from South Africa, we will actually be covering every continent, except Antarctica, through our Women Ambassadors group. So we will be even more representative and diverse than we were before. And within that spirit, we are planning to continue to be very active. We hope to engage with many of you, and also to continue with some of our activities like the Ambassador for a Day program, and hope again that we can work together with the Foreign Ministry and of course with other colleagues in the UN system and in the Thai government to continue to profile the important work of women in diplomacy and diplomatic activities more generally. It's great that we have this now, this International Day of Women in Diplomacy, but as was mentioned, it's still also noticeable that in many international settings, the number of women in leadership positions remains low. That we have never seen, for example, a UN Secretary General who was a woman. And it makes me think back a little bit to my own ministry. We're doing not badly at the moment. About 50% of our ambassadors at any given time and heads of mission, so ambassadors, consuls general, and so on, are women. But we haven't done so well in-house. And we have only recently, with our current deputy minister, so our permanent secretary equivalent of foreign affairs, is the first ever woman in the job. And I remember talking to her predecessor, who was very keen to get a woman into that job, about the rows and rows and rows of photos on the wall outside his office that were all men. And when you work in the ministry, you stop noticing those photos on the walls after a while. You don't really pay attention. But he came newly into our ministry from elsewhere and looked at that and said, oh. And I realized, even if we don't think about it, we absorb that. And people get that impression that if there's never been a woman in that role, if there's never a woman in those rows and rows of photos, that maybe women can't do that job. So I think one of the things that is great about our group here and our interactions with you is that it's an opportunity for us, and including in the new International Day of Women in Diplomacy, to say women can do that job. And not only can they do that job, but then they can create a setting where others will succeed them. So like Hélène, I'm the second woman in this role, the second woman ambassador to Thailand. And it feels great to be able to stand on the shoulders of a wonderful predecessor and to know that wasn't a one-off, that will continue. So that's what we want very much to work together with you and with all our colleagues on in the future. So look forward to that, and the Women Ambassadors Group we can assure you, will continue going strong. Thank you very much.
And pointed out that I'm the longest serving woman ambassador around. Kirsty is actually, for the record, more senior, but she's not around here. So once again, DPS Vilawan, thank you for organizing this. And DG Supanvasa, a pleasure to be in this very important event, which is, it's not just a networking event. I've got a wonderful takeaway, in fact, from what I've listened to you, your sharing of your experience of archiving your old records. I'm sure all of our ministries are doing it in their own way, but in the way that you shared with us about the very systematic way in which you're going about doing that, I think is an idea that I would like to share with New Delhi. We're here because, of course, I think Helen brought us together. Helen, we will miss you, but congratulations, of course, on this very important post that you're taking up. It's a matter of pride and joy for all of us. Like Helen, I have not been number one in any of the postings that I've done. I'm the third woman ambassador from India here in Bangkok, and I'm proud of that. I was the second High Commissioner of India to Kenya, which was my earlier assignment. In most of the assignments I've done, there have always been other very bright women before me. The first woman President of the UN General Assembly was from India. I'm very happy to say that the next permanent representative to the UN will be a lady again. We've had several permanent secretaries who have been women, so they've all, trod this path much before me and very ably. And there are several generations of young diplomats, women diplomats. Now we have our intakes are almost 50% are women, so we are doing quite well. But it is a world which we share, and I think I would not like to claim superiority. Like DG Supanvasa said, I think I'm where I am thanks to the wonderful support and the cooperation which was extended to me by my male colleagues. Never have I, in my 34 years of service, Indian Foreign Service, have I ever faced any kind of discrimination. On the contrary, there's always been support and encouragement. and I have never felt what I am doing is something special. I've always looked upon myself as an officer, as a diplomat, not as a female diplomat or as a female officer, but that has been my approach. I'm sure everybody has their own unique perspective. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of former PERMSEC Busaya Matale, a very dear friend, and DPS Chulamani, who I've got to know, in the last few months, very able colleagues. And thank you very much. I think what you've done at the Foreign Ministry is a wonderful initiative, and we hope that we will continue to interact like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.